What's good, my niggas? I'm not even gonna say nothing. Llama Arts, the freaking videos gonna be in the description. Subscribe to them. And I'm gonna put her in it.
Let it go.
And put my boy Jordan in it. I'm gonna put his channel in the description. Let's get it in. You're not gonna be able to hear me, just to let you know. I'm gonna pause it. True pizza horror stories. Hold up. Freaking audio. Freaking audio is trash right now. Hold up. Had to set up. I should have been set up. Man. Let's go.
Delivery one late night. It was probably the longest drive I had ever taken for a pizza delivery. From the pizza place I worked at, it was a 20-minute drive, which isn't too crazy out where I live.
Dang, all right,
plus, they ordered 4 large pies, so I figured it was a
pies,
and I would get a much bigger tip.
That's Domino's!
Navigating the dirt roads at night was always annoying, though. I pulled up to the given address. It was some old, sketchy-looking... Navigating the dirt roads at night was always annoying, though. I pulled up to the...
Look at this. Look at that. Bruh, this man got the nerve to have a little Daewoo, but then try to put some fire on it. I feel you. Respect. Why do the tires look the same? The back one stopped, but the front one's still going. Let's just go, bruh. Let's get it.
Given address. It was some old, sketchy-looking building. Literally.
People getting kidnapped up in there. Yeah, people getting kidnapped. You know somebody hung in there.
In the middle of a forest clearing.
No.
There were no cars parked anywhere or any lights on. I put my car in park and called my boss. I asked him to reread the address at least 3 times to make...
Boss, I gotta talk to you. Alright, I'm sick of this, man. I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick, man. This is nasty. Okay? Look, send me the Addy one more time to make sure that you got it right. This house looks like it's been abandoned for 3 years.
Sure, I typed it in right, but that checked out. I could tell he was in a really bitchy mood, and he told me to...
Why are you looking at me?
I gotta edit that out, don't I?
What?
At least knock on the door and check it out. He would normally get mad if we took back 1 pie, but I was afraid of what he would do if I brought back 4. I was insanely unnerved, but got out anyway and forced myself to the front door of the building. There was no doorbell, so I just knocked really hard. I heard nothing and didn't...
But he looking like the creep now. I wish somebody would come up to my house and knock. I'm like this. Did you hear something? I did.
Really expect to hear anything. I was extremely disappointed. Not because nobody answered the door.
Alright, this is the last time. I'm gonna stop making him mad. We're gonna watch half of it. Alright, I'm gonna stop.
But because I was realizing that it was all a waste of time and gas. I knocked one more time out of desperation. And then began to hear some kind of rustling noises from inside of the building. I knocked again and yelled that I was the pizza guy. There was silence now.
I'm leaving.
I felt a bit more uncomfortable now than before.
I'm gonna eat it and
before I could
go
turn
away.
around, I noticed something at the window. It was someone looking through the window. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. All I noticed were their eyes. Their eyes were open wider than I knew possible, staring intently at me. I was disturbed enough by this and dropped the pizzas and ran back to my car. The shitty thing wouldn't start until turning the key for the third time. I drove off the grass and back onto the dirt road, but I felt the car rocking about, shaking and bumping. Something wasn't right. I didn't make it far from the building before I started hearing a sharp scraping sound coming from outside. There was so much resistance that I couldn't even drive. The car came to a stop. I got out of the car to check what the hell was wrong. A chill ran up my spine as I began to feel like my heart was constantly skipping beats. My tires had been slashed and had completely fallen off the rim.
Dang.
Not just the front though. All 4 tires were slashed. I realized somebody did this when I was knocking on the door to that building. Instead of running, I got back in the car and locked the doors. I was so close to that building, I could practically see it from where I was, if it weren't for the trees blocking the view. I dialed 911 and explained everything to the operator. She told me the cops would be over as soon as possible and that I need to stay hidden. I asked her if it was advisable to stay in the car or run, and she told me it would be best to stay in the car with the door locked. She asked me to stay on the line with her until the cops arrived. My whole body was shaking. In all directions, there was nothing but dark, seemingly endless forest. I knew it would take forever for the cops to get there. I was not comfortable with sitting in that car so close to whoever did this. The next part, though, is what utterly destroyed me. It still shakes me to this day, and I hope nobody ever has to experience this kind of fear. As I was scanning all the windows, making sure nobody was outside, I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was the same person. The same person I saw at that window. Eyes.
Heck no. Hex freaking no. I think I gotta show them.
What?
Hold up. They think I'm playing. I ain't got the bullets in it right now, but you will get blasted. Don't come near me. I just want to deliver your pizza. Bro, you ordered pie. That's it, bro. Get your pie. Just open the door. Now you're going to have to get blasted on, sucky. Come on. Come through. Please, come through. Come through. Come through. Please, come through. Behind my freaking car like that. Fight me. Nah, get that. Nah, forget that. What? What? Beep. Come on. Alright, fight me. I had the freaking young boy on somebody. Keep on playing with me. They think I'm playing. They think I'm playing. Am I playing, Lay?
Yeah.
That's my baby. Alright, let's get back into this.
Open wider than ever.
You made me mad.
I could see now that it was a woman. And I could ever so like.
She finna get roasted. If you don't stop with your Walking Dead, but I know you cannot be talking. It looked like your hair started coming off before you died. It looked like you didn't even afford a pizza. Stop. Your eyes is big. You ain't got no eyelids. Your eyebrows blend down with your neck meat. And I know you got the... She like the Ayawoki monster. She look like the Ayawoki monster. Don't she though? Don't she? Ugh.
What?
Ah. Hold up, man. Hold up. I gotta check something. I had to look at something, y'all. I had to make sure my what's name was good. I had to make sure I had my sound effects in. Alright, y'all.
I ran until I was out of breath, which didn't take long, and I hid behind a giant log on the ground. I tried to cover my loud breathing with my hands as I waited and waited for what felt like hours until I finally heard sirens in the distance. I gathered up all the stamina I had left to run all the way back in the direction of the dirt road. Eventually, The glowing red and blue lights came into view, and I had never felt better in my life. They were parked in front of my car, investigating with flashlights. I came out yelling at them like a lunatic to help me. I fell to the floor and started to gag, almost throwing up from running so much. They picked me up and began to question me, to which I explained everything to the best of my ability. One of the two cars drove over to the building, and the two officers began to search the building. They came back with nothing except for a couple of spiky objects. These objects were exactly the same as the ones used to slash my tires. The cops guessed that it was some kind of sick, demented couple, being that I saw the woman, but unfortunately they were never found, and that still kills me to this day. I obviously quit my job right after that and started working at a local grocery store.
Hey, boss. Nah, cuz.
I know that I'll never forget seeing that woman at the back of my car.
Wait, nigga.
I recently moved out, and I already have a horror story to tell. The house I moved into isn't anything impressive. It's just a house that's appropriate for one or two people. But I'd say right away, I started hearing weird sounds coming from inside the walls. I first heard it in the kitchen, and then in the bathroom. But on night 3, I started hearing it in my bedroom. I was sure there was some kind of animal living in my walls. I just had to figure out how to get rid of it. The next morning, I didn't even have enough milk to fill the bowl of cereal. I couldn't believe I hadn't realized I needed more milk.
Dang.
In fact, I seemed to be eating up all my food pretty fast. I woke up in the middle of that night to the sound of breathing. Not my breathing. It sounded just like the breathing of a person. I flipped the lamp on, and it stopped. I chalked it up as my mind playing tricks on me after waking up. The next day was really hot, so I turned on the AC for the first time. I checked every single vent, and some of them weren't blowing any air. One of them being the vent right next to my bed.
Oh no.
I peered through the vent with a flashlight. There wasn't even a duct behind the vent.
Bruh, don't he look like Leon from Resident Evil? Bruh. he look like Leon, bro. Bruh.
Did you call both of us?
No.
It was just the inside of the wall. It seemed that whatever air duct was in there had been removed.
Air duct?
Unfortunately, I didn't look into the air conditioning system while buying the house, so I didn't know about this.
Okay.
That night, I had to sleep in the heat with no AC, so I was up pretty late.
Bro, that's how I sleep, bruh. That's it. Bro, no shirt, bruh. Sometimes I be sleeping in my underwear, but I might have like some shorts on, bro. I be in the bed going crazy.
Constantly rolling around and flipping the pillow over. Then I eventually started to hear the breathing again, but this time I was fully awake. I knew it was real this time. It was coming to my left. I looked to my left at the air vents. The sound was surely coming from in there. I grabbed the flashlight again and shined it in through the vent. I dropped it and screamed. There was someone's face peering through the cracks of the vents. The first thing I saw were their eyes, open wide.
My eyes is finna start watering, bro. Hold up. Y'all gotta see this. Bro, look at my eyes. They finna start watering, bro. Look, they finna start watering. You know how stuff like that get me, bro? Bro, I'm not trying to make my... Bro, my freaking... My eyes over here watering it, bro. Man, I'm gonna do a try not to laugh, man. It's a try not to get scared. I think I already lost. But look at the way this nigga creepy peeping, bro.
bright and glowing. I screamed all the way down and out the house.
Yo.
I soon found out there was a crazy, dangerous homeless man living in my walls, and he had been eating my food ever since I moved in.
Oh my. He been eating your food? True, understood. True, understood.
I was doing some night hog hunting in the woods near my backyard. I was hiding in the tower I had built about a decade ago. In case anyone's wondering, I of course had a night vision scope attachment.
Okay.
I guess I'm what you would consider a hardcore hunter. I don't want to bore you with the unnecessary story prolonging details, so I'll make this short. And I want everyone to know that though I agree this story sounds far-fetched and crazy, it is nothing but the truth. And I, in a way, actually consider myself lucky that I'll always have such a horrifying story to share. So, while I was sitting in the tower waiting for movement, it finally came. I took aim and found the source. But it wasn't at all a hog, or any kind of animal I was expecting. It was a person, a man wearing all black. Black sweatpants, black shoes, and a black hoodie with the hood over his head.
You're getting
but that wasn't the freakiest part. He was dragging a sack behind him.
You're getting shot.
My heart started racing. I was pretty sure I was witnessing this guy trying to bury a body. I continued to watch him, but then he slowed down, and I swear to God, it looked as if he turned his head up to me. I ducked down under the wooden walls of the tower, shaking in my boots. Yes, I had a gun, but just the idea of using it against a person is horrifying.
How?
I lay low, praying to God that he hadn't seen me. It wouldn't make sense if he could, though. It's practically pitch black out here. Or at least, that was my logic. Seconds felt like an eternity as I waited for the footsteps in the leaves to move elsewhere, but I didn't hear any footsteps. All I heard was the sound of a foot hitting one of the wooden planks on the ladder of the tower. I felt the entire tower vibrate and shake as there were 2 more steps moving up the ladder. At this point, I was asking myself deep down, am I going to be able to shoot someone? But for some reason, whoever was down there decided not to climb all the way up, as I heard them jump back down to the forest ground and began dragging the sack away. I think I stayed frozen like a statue for at least 10 minutes before even peeking over the ledge again. The coast seemed clear. I had to get home and warn the police immediately. I hopped over the ledge and descended down the ladder. I turned on my pocket flashlight, which in hindsight was a stupid move considering the situation, and ran back in the direction of my house. I was only able to run for about 10 seconds or so when I heard the rapid, manic footsteps crunching the leaves from behind me. I took a look over my shoulder, and there he was, inches away from my face. I spun around and shot him in the shoulder.
Okay.
He stopped and screamed in agony, and I took that moment to finish my dash to my house. Again, in hindsight, I should have held him hostage somehow, but that doesn't even matter now. I called the police, who showed up within 15 minutes with a whole search squad, and I led them all into the woods to the exact location where I shot him.
Okay.
There was a faint yet noticeable blood trail spilled onto the leaves, which led past the body bag, which the cops seized, and eventually right to the maniac, who was hiding under a log next to a tree. He was arrested and tried for the murder of Jin-Quinn Sakanaki, a Japanese corner store owner.
What?
I don't know the full story behind it, but I do know I won't forget this one for the rest of my life, and I'll also be telling it for the rest of my life.
Now, Bush, pick it up.
Oh! I'm so sorry.
Pick it up. Pick it up.
At Sprint, our priority is keeping our customers, employees, and communities safe. During these uncertain times, get the great service you expect without leaving the safety of your home. Shop at Sprint.com for the best new phone deals, like a Samsung Galaxy phone for just $0 a month.
Move. Trying to make a video of my squad.
I'll never forget the time me and my brother snuck out past our bedtimes to explore an allegedly haunted house down the block. Yes, I said bedtime, as I was only 10 and my brother Luke was only 12. When our parents said goodnight to us, I went to Luke's room and we took a couple hand-powered flashlights with us and hopped outside through the window.
Wow.
Luckily, his room was on the first floor. Those hand-powered flashlights worked by constantly pushing in a little trigger that would create light inside the lens. They were noisy as hell, but they were convenient.
Yep.
Once we were outside, we just walked down the block, and in 2 minutes we were there. It was rumored by all the neighborhood kids and teens that the place was haunted. Everything about it was creepy. The older, more antique design of the house, the isolation from the rest of the...
Little Pickle, can you give me some Skittles? Go get, like, you ask her if you can make me back. Thanks.
Houses, and the broken windows and rotting wood. It seemed perfect for a horror movie. We went around to the backyard. This was all my curious and confident brother's idea. I was scared shitless.
Exactly.
The door was locked, as expected. I felt a bit of relief, thinking we might just go home. But my brother made a shocking move next. He grabbed a plank of wood laying in the grass and began smashing the already chipped window. Eventually there was enough of an opening to unlock it and slide it up completely. We hopped inside and began cranking those noisy-ass flashlights. Immediately after entering the house, we both picked up on the fact that it was like 90 degrees in there, which was odd as it was a September night in the mid-70s. There was no graffiti or anything anywhere. In fact, it was relatively empty besides a few pieces of furniture that were clearly not worth taking along. It seemed we were the first to enter the house, shockingly, or at least from the back. We went upstairs to the main floor from the little den area and continued cranking the flashlights. That's when we heard the slightest crack in the floorboards from right above us. We both jumped. I tugged for Luke to leave, but he told me the place is old as hell. It's just house noises. I stopped cranking the flashlight at this point, and I urged Luke to do the same, but he only called me stupid for suggesting something so ridiculous. Then there was another crack in the floorboards from above us.
I'm running.
He began walking upstairs. I didn't want to go up there, but I was not about to stay down there alone. I followed behind him to the upstairs. There was a door that led to a room right above where we were standing. I begged him not to open it, but he must have just wanted to be the big, tough older brother.
He's not.
He began to reach for the doorknob while still cranking the noisy flashlight, but then he stopped. I was confused. I could see in the dark he was moving his ear up against the door, listening for something. Silence. Then, the most deafening, nightmare-inducing moment of my life. A single bang on the door from the other side sent my brother staggering into the wall in pain, covering his ear. We dropped the flashlights and ran straight out the back door and back home. We were so loud when we got back that our parents found us out. We told them what happened, but they naturally didn't care and grounded us both for a week.
You don't care.
2 nights later, I woke to the sound of something from outside my window and a glare of brightness sneaking in through my slightly opened blind. I sat up, and my heart sank when I realized it was the sound of the crank to my flashlight. I stood up and looked out the window, and that's when it stopped. There was nothing.
You're playing too much, bro.
Pause that one too.
Man. Hold up, y'all. I had to give me some Skittles. Alright, let's go.
Nothing but complete blackness out there after that.